Hello and welcome to The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and the master with me in this episode for an expert conversation is Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. Mohit, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you for calling me a master, much as I not really deserve that title, but for the next hour, I'm happy to be master.
Thanks very much indeed, Mohit, for giving us your time. And thank you also to AdFactors PR and Abha Kumari of AdFactors PR Bangalore for having facilitated this conversation. And before I start our conversation, I'm going to introduce Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. The profile of Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities, begins with a Chinese proverb that says, "The best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The second best time is now." Why his profile begins that way is that Mohit, one of India's best hospitality industry professionals from the Mecca of hotel management training in India, the Oberoi School of Hotel Management, entered his second innings when he joined Colombia Pacific Communities after 30 years with the hotel industry. Colombia Pacific Communities, Mohit's second organization in a 30-year-old career, allows him to bring to the fore all the skills that he has gained over the past 3 decades. At Colombia Pacific Communities, or CPC, Mohit has seized the opportunity to expand his knowledge and skills from the hospitality sector and has been working with domain experts in areas as diverse as land acquisition, design and development of the communities, construction on quality, on time, on budget, sales and marketing of the real estate, but with heart and empathy, ultimately continuing the association with the buyers and residents by servicing the community and the needs of all the residents. Mohit's and CPC's sole objective is to provide our elders with a safe, secure and engaging lifestyle in an environment of genuine warmth and care. In his first innings, Mohit started in hospitality with the Oberoi Group in 1986, and since 1996, he's been in leadership roles heading hotels across brands like Novotel, Trident, Oberoi, and in geographies like India, Mauritius, and Egypt, with a diverse range of responsibilities across operations, openings, renovations, and restorations. Mohit's specialties: process analysis for enhanced efficiency and effectiveness, a passion for detail and for maximizing the achievement of potential of colleagues through a mentoring approach, the ability to balance the creative tension that must exist between the means and the end. The means being the way and manner in which he conducts business as per the values embodied in the CPC brand, and the end being the hunger and passion necessary to outperform the competition and to win. So that's the stellar professional I have with me on this episode of The Master's Voice, Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. Once again, Mohit, welcome to The Master's Voice.
Thank you so much, and I hope I do justice to the very kind introduction that you've just made.
Oh, I have absolutely no doubt, Mohit, and thank you very much for being on the show. So today, Mohit, particularly in the wake of the pandemic, brands are very purpose-driven in the way they advertise themselves. How was Colombia Pacific Communities advertising itself in the BAU days, starting 2019 when it set up in India and invited you to join them? Was its marketing driven by purpose?
So before I speak to you about the marketing of Colombia Pacific Communities, and depending on how deep a student you are of marketing, it's for people who do not have a deep understanding of what marketers do. It is sometimes used as a pejorative word, as "wo to apni marketing kar raha hai." But those who understand what it does is that it helps to create in the mind of the consumer the exact image of what the brand or the company believes itself to be offering. So if there is zero dissonance on what a company is or wants to be, and what its users or buyers or service receivers perceive it to be, then it's a job well done. Everything else is manufactured. And one thing that you have to accept in today's day and age, where people have several different sources of ratification of what is being said, the liars get found out very quickly. So, did we know what we were marketing on day one as the company started to come together? Actually, no. We spent quite a bit of time in just clearing our own minds as to what was the purpose of our being in India. What was it that we were bringing that we believed was the right solution, and whether this is how it was being perceived by those in the country. And before I go deeper into the marketing side of it, what we need to understand is the circumstances that have changed in the country over the last 20 years.
Right.
See, culturally, we are very much a nation where parents see it as their responsibility to do the best for their children, and having fulfilled those responsibilities, count on their children taking on the responsibilities of the parents in the parents' old age. That's the cultural mind place of the country. And therefore, anybody who is living in a community designed for seniors, unfortunately and very incorrectly labeled old age homes, has this extremely sad image attached to it of a place where those who are not desired by their children go to spend the last years of their lives.
Indeed.
That's culturally what it has been. And that is why there is also this stigma. But let's see what has happened in terms of circumstances over the last 10, 15 years. What we've seen is an emerging middle class of professionals, people working in the private sector, doing extremely well in the public sector, in government positions, etc., who have spent disproportionately. And when I say disproportionately, I mean they've spent more than possibly they could even afford to make sure that their children had the best access to the best education. And having given them that education, simultaneously what globalization has ensured is that now these extremely well-educated, great individuals with sound values are able to find and pursue careers outside their parent city, many times outside the country. And therefore, the parents love their children and want the best for them. The children love their parents and would like to be by them always. But unfortunately, because of circumstances and not culture, the two are living separately. Many times in different cities, many times in different countries. Now the parents are already staying alone. And one of the biggest accelerators of aging is loneliness. And this is where Colombia Pacific community is. And the operative word in that name is not Colombia Pacific, which is the name of our principles. The operative word in that name is communities, which is bringing together like-minded people who are keen on living life to the fullest. Please understand that the parents are now independent. They are financially independent. They've served their careers. They've looked after their parents. And now is the time when they have the wherewithal, both financial and time, to really pursue the interests that they have. They don't want to be dependent on their children. The children want the best for their parents. They want to have the peace of mind that their parents are well looked after. And this is the exact need, both of the parents and of the children, that Colombia Pacific Communities seeks to fulfill by creating communities where the parents can come, buy a home, and then enjoy all the services and facilities that allow them to be the best of themselves. Now, when that is the objective with which a company comes together, to find a purpose is actually quite simple. Because right at the center of everything that you do must be fulfilling the needs and expectations of the residents who have entrusted the rest of their life with you, and to fulfill the needs and expectations of their children who have entrusted their most precious commodity, which is their parents, in your hands. Now, when you have that much moral and legal responsibility, purpose automatically resides within that. So when we, as a company, when we start to think of the design of a project, we ask ourselves, what if our parents were to stay there, what would we do? And the answer presents itself. When we are asked a question whilst serving seniors in a community that we manage, and a situation arises, and we ask ourselves, what would we do if it was our parents that we were interacting with? The answer presents itself. So essentially what we've decided to be the company dharma on every single interaction of ours is unconditional love, respect, and care for all whom we deal with. Right?
Excellent.
And again, we thought about this with a lot of intensity. As people age, what they are missing most is the love of their children and their grandchildren. And that's something that we must, in our interactions with them, do our utmost to fill that gap. When a person retires or finishes from a position of great responsibility and authority, unfortunately, our society tends to respect the chair more than the individual. And when the chair disappears, the respect levels seem to change. And therefore, we must ensure that in every interaction, we extend to them the respect that they are used to and as seniors must get because it is their right. All of these three, love, respect, and care, must be given unconditionally. When that's the company dharma, purpose gets built into it automatically.
So, Mohit, how did you communicate this entire dharma, this raison d'etre, the entire offering, okay? The principle of service and the behavior which everybody had internalized and which was completely genuine across the ranks. How did you market yourself, Mohit? Do you remember what your first campaign was like for Colombia Pacific communities?
You're talking of a campaign which is outwards to the world about the project that we launched. So you must keep in mind that that campaign really came in 1.5 years later because that's the amount of gestation period it takes to acquire land, get approvals, etc.
Of course.
But in the interim, what we had done, Pavan, was to acquire a company which gave us the privilege of serving 9 communities in 5 different cities, 1,600 homes, 3,000 seniors, who now became our responsibility, right? And they had never known of Colombia Pacific communities until we took over the company. And obviously, when you take over a company, with that comes all the people and the legacy that exists. And the first thing we did before we even started training on our own people was to start to talk about the promise of unconditional love, respect, and care. So normally people say under promise and over deliver. We over promised and then stretched ourselves day and night to try and deliver, right? And because you see, the thing with seniors, Pavan, like every child will know, a lot of people told me when I came into this business that this demographic, the seniors, are the most complaining demographic of them all, right? They're constantly complaining. And when I went into the communities, there were a lot of complaints. But what I have found in the 2.5 years since then, that this is a demographic which, if it recognizes that your intentions are clean, and that you are trying your hardest to demonstrate on your intention, then this demographic changes very quickly from the most complaining to the most forgiving of them. Right? And all that they need to do is understand that your intent is clean. Thereafter, saath khoon maaf hai. They will never, ever point a finger or complain because they know that you mean well. Once this confidence came in, then we went out with our new project, which basically focused on a much more powerful concept called positive aging. Marketing comes when you are clear within yourself as to what you wish to communicate. It was only when we became clear that what we are promising is a community and a lifestyle which allows you to be the best of yourselves, because we've taken care of everything else through unconditional love, respect, and care, that you can then go and make the promises and communicate in the campaigns.
So that was during the BAU days, pre-pandemic, Mohit. What are your thoughts about the manner in which brands have been marketing themselves during the COVID pandemic?
I think the first things that happened in the marketing and advertising space was a general slowdown, because everybody was conserving every rupee. Nobody knew how long this tunnel was. And therefore the levels of uncertainty were quite high. Thereafter, what I did see was a lot of campaigns that focused more on positioning the brand than on selling a product.
Right.
This was the time when a lot of brands, and I wish I could give you specific examples that don't come to my mind now at this point in time. But what I do remember, a lot of brands indulging in campaigns or activities or initiatives which perpetuated the core brand values in and positioning what the brand stood for in the minds, rather than use the opportunity to hawk or sell product or service. And the ones that were able to leverage the gratitude to frontliners, the ones that were able to evoke the fight or the fight of the community against. I remember a campaign that we did, which was, and in fact we were very fortunate to have our own residents do the voiceover of that, where we spoke about how the seniors have gone through years and decades of uncertainty, through the wars, through the depression, through the emergency, and they always came out because they were in it together and as a community, which then reinforced our message of community beating uncertainty every single time. And so those were the messages and campaigns that I remember well in my mind, where brands tried to position their core values rather than try and sell.
And you know, a lot of youngsters who are training to be custodians of brands and reputation, they will take one learning from here, that what is truly important is that you behave and walk the talk of your mission, vision and values, and demonstrate true and genuine care. You're tuned to The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and with me is Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. We're taking a short break. Back soon. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. You know, Mohit, CPC has come out with some lovely campaigns in the past. Two that I can remember offhand are Love Not Labels and another good one, Unretire. You know, they are really good campaigns and they demonstrate the kind of care, the care that CPC represents and promises you. And yeah, another thing I want to tell you is that I say this from first-hand knowledge, which I have acquired from friends who are living internationally, who are living abroad, and whose parents, these are two friends, whose parents have opted for the Colombia Pacific Service Communities, and I think they're very, very happy. So great stuff on marketing on that count.
And the campaigns that you've spoken about, you see, it all came down to our central core philosophy of positive aging. What the core philosophy of positive aging is really now a changed mindset of the new 50, 60-year-old from what their parents and their grandparents were. This demographic is very clear about the need for them no longer just riding away into the sunset. They want to live life to the fullest. They want to be able to pursue their hobbies and passions. They want to be able to give back to society if that's what they wish to do.
Correct.
They don't just want to sit back and watch television. Now, with them, it is also important that we change the mindsets and how people see them, which is why the Love Not Labels campaign, which is also the Relearn campaign, that you need to look at seniors in a whole new light.
Absolutely.
We did a campaign pre-COVID, and I will give you an example of what we did pre-COVID and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, we had Southern India's first senior citizen flash mob in Bangalore, where they went out into the city, into the busiest malls, and had put together a song and dance routine, which then involved everybody who was visiting. And everybody was amazed to see 60, 70, and 80-year-olds dancing in the middle of a busy street because that's what they wish to do.
Wonderful.
Now, we can't do that post-COVID, right? Yeah. So we had other residents who worked with a sign language trainer to do a Christmas carol, which was done on Zoom for over 400 deaf and dumb students across the country, where they sang Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So what it tells you is these are not people who want to just sit back and be cared for. These are people who want to live their life, experience new experiences, and enjoy themselves while they are at it.
Wonderful. Your business is all heart, and that's like it's like an oxymoron. Your business is all heart. You chose to come into India in 5 cities which are all in the south. And my guesstimate or guess about it is perhaps that these are the cities which are like, the brain drain centers of highly educated and well qualified people who move abroad, and therefore would be probably able to better afford the kind of care that such real close attention and lavish living conditions and so much more all around care, 360 degree, 24/7, 365 days a year or 366 sometimes. Okay. So it's going to cost that much. So was that the reason that you decided to make your foray into India in the south?
You have to know that our parent company is Colombia Asia, and they are headquartered in Bangalore.
Right.
So obviously you look for something close by, and the company that we acquired had these 9 communities in south of India.
Right.
It is a fact that there are more senior living communities in the southern half of India than in the northern half. And you're very astute to have touched on why that should be the case.
Okay.
You see, the southern part of India went nuclear in size of family a lot earlier than the northern part of India. So besides the fact that the south went more nuclear in their family size,
right,
I'd say a generation before the north. The second thing is the south has always been extremely focused on education being a medium to translate to a higher quality of life. And therefore, again, they've spent inordinately or disproportionately to ensure that their children got the best education. And it is no surprise that even if you look back right up to the days of independence, the leading bureaucrats in the Indian civil services, the best scientists, and so on and so forth, they all came from the southern part of India, being highly educated. Thereafter, they started to travel. The only one point where I have a difference from what you said about the children being able to afford or be happy to contribute towards their parents staying in these communities, I'll actually tell you that about 98% of all our residents do not take a single rupee from their children. Right? They are extremely proud of being self-sufficient. In fact, I can count on one hand the number of people who may have monies sent to them for any expenses. And this includes providing for and keeping aside a medical corpus for any unforeseen needs. So whilst they love their children and the children love their parents, the seniors are extremely proud of being self-sufficient and independent financially as well. In the new projects that we are launching, I see the same trend continuing. Financially independent, well-to-do, proud parents who are keen to adopt a good lifestyle without having to depend on their children for financial aid.
Mohit, what is the business model of Colombia Pacific Communities?
So in order for anything to be sustainable, it has to be profitable. That goes without saying.
Sure.
But from a business model point of view, we are an extremely interesting combination of 3 things. First and foremost, we are a service company. Nobody buys a house in a community designed by Colombia Pacific Communities because they need a house. All of our residents, all of our future residents are actually living in their best houses of their life at this point in time. They move into a community such as ours because they need the guarantee of the services that come in that community and not the guarantee of the nicest, biggest house. So to that extent, we are a service and hospitality company. At the very same time, in order to get those services and hospitality, you need to buy into this community. This community, and therefore designing and building the community makes us part real estate. And why we need to be designing the community is because senior living communities are completely different at many, many different levels from a regular residential condominium setup. Our youngest customer is 48 years old. He'll stay with us till he's 98, right? And may God, I'm just guessing 98, but the point I'm trying to make is the community and every single inch of it should be accessible, usable, and practical for him at the age of 48, as also at the age of 98. So it needs to be designed in a particular way on day one so that it's good for you for the entire duration that you spend in the community. To that extent, the design needs to be done in a particular way. It needs to be built in a particular way. The lighting levels, the elevators, the time that the doors remain open, everything has to be designed in a manner different to regular residential projects. And to that extent, therefore, we are real estate. Now comes the third part of our company, which is healthcare, because we should be able to look after your medical needs as they are today, but also as they change over time. So we are part hospitality and service, part real estate, part healthcare. And it's this combination that provides all the solutions that our seniors and residents need.
Right. And what is the size of the business opportunity for you in India, Mohit, for Colombia Pacific Communities?
Our promoter, when he first met me, and I asked, actually the way I asked him was that I've worked with one company with the Oberoi Group for 31 years. He knew, and for me to move into a new company, albeit a very challenging assignment, can you please tell me what my deliverables need to be for the first 6 months, 1 year, 2 years kind of thing? So he said, Mohit, we don't actually work like that. Let me send you something. And he sent me a 25-year business plan, right? Saying, that's what we would like you to deliver over the next 25 years. So I said, I'm 53 and you're sending me a 25-year. So he says, so what are you going to retire at 78? Is that what you're saying? So that's the way. And he said to me that you will run out of bricks and cement in India. You will not run out of demand.
Wonderful.
The last CII report that came out on the subject said that there is a need today of 240,000 homes in communities designed for seniors.
Current supply is what, 5%?
Currently, in various stages of operation or development is 20,000. So there is a 12x gap at this point in time. Let me tell you what it means going forward. If I buy a piece of land today, it welcomes its first residents 3.5 to 4 years from today.
Right.
The number of seniors that India will add. So I will build a community for 250 homes over a 3.5-4 year period time. India will go from 12% of this country's population being above 60 to 18% of this country's population being above 60 in that same time frame.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, we are talking of 158 million. That's more than the population of Australia, Canada, and Argentina combined.
Absolutely. So right now, Mohit, your Colombia Pacific communities are spread across, let's see, Chennai, Bengaluru, Puducherry, Kanchipuram, and Coimbatore. Am I correct?
That's absolutely right.
And you recently launched your 10th project in Bengaluru, which is the signature offering.
That's correct. It's the Virtuoso Club and Service Residences. That's the 10th project in Bangalore. It's our first design to international standards offering to the city. And in fact, the country. A lot of our future residents in Bangalore are people who are not essentially from Bangalore, but have worked in Bangalore at some stage of time in their careers and are happy to return to this city. Our 11th project will be in Pune towards the end of the year. The 12th one will also be in Bangalore, in the northern part of Bangalore. The 13th one will be in the city of Chennai. And basically our mandate is to add 4 projects every year, year after year, forever.
So you're only in your third year of a 25-year plan, Mohit, and you're going full steam ahead. Amazing. Mohit, you told me that upwards of 95% of your residents are actually self-sufficient and self-supporting and are there with you because of the sheer quality and reliability and genuineness and effectiveness of the services that are provided. Services come at 2 levels, the corporal level around you, the physical state of things, and the other is the emotional quality and pitch, the genuineness with which the services are provided.
If I just break that, what you just set up into the 3 promises that we have, right? The first promise is what we call a zero headache lifestyle. We don't want you to have to worry about anything that you would normally need to. Security, we've got it covered. Amazon's delivering. You don't need to open the door. We'll take it from Amazon and deliver it to you because we want you to be confident that the fellow at the door is a Colombia Pacific employee. I want your children, wherever they are, to know that their father or mother will never open the door to an unknown person. Right. When it comes to housekeeping, it's all the housekeeping around the community, in the common areas, equally inside your home. Not just inside your home for daily cleaning, but there are weekly and monthly cleaning schedules which take care of things that normally you can't get to. The fan blades, the AC filter, and so on and so forth. So there is a whole program that ensures that you don't have to worry about that. Food and beverage, dining downstairs in the restaurant or up in your home. So basically anything and everything that you need for your day-to-day life, that's taken care of. You don't have to spend time on things that in life you either spend time on things that you have to do or you spend time on things that you want to do. Once you're at a Colombia Pacific community, you only spend time on things that you want to do. The have to do stuff you leave for us.
Excellent.
The second promise is peace of mind on the medical front. We've got you covered. We know your tests. We have all the information on you. We see you every day. Our nurses are available 24/7. We know if you're not looking as good as you should be because we know you every day, right? And then as your medical needs change over time, all the records are existing. And God forbid if there is an emergency, there is an existing relationship with the nearest hospital that gets you from your bed to a hospital bed with everything in between, whether it is admission process, cash-free admission, transfer of medical data, all of that happens seamlessly. So you have the best chance to get the best medical care at the shortest possible time frame. That's the second promise. But really, what senior living communities, especially Colombia Pacific, must do for you is what we call positive aging. It's about being able to live a lifestyle that keeps you healthier for longer. Pavan, all of us have to go at one stage or the other, right? Yep. But the question is, how fit are you for how long? And that should not be connected to this numerical number of age. Age and aging has to be delinked, and the way to do it is positive aging, which is where we say that in the social environment that we create in our community, you will be physically fitter, mentally more alert, and intellectually more stimulated tomorrow than today. Wow. And if that we can achieve, we can make sure you don't really need those hospital visits.
You're tuned to The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and with me is Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. We're taking a short break. Back soon. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. Mohit, very insightful conversation so far. And the entire approach and genuine behavior of Colombia Pacific Communities, it's all about the genuine behavior today, isn't it? And like you said, liars get caught immediately and people know. So it's about humility, it's about genuineness, it's about confidence, it's about determination and sticking to what you believe in and delivering as promised. So how's Colombia Pacific Communities been growing and how does it sustain itself? What are your revenue streams? How has it grown from 1 to the 13th and hopefully in the next 2 years perhaps, how do you plan to reach the 15th project in India?
Like I'd explained, we are part real estate, part hospitality and part healthcare. So equally, we have those many revenue streams, so to say. There is the first part, which is the creation of the asset itself. So we buy land, we design the community, we build it and we sell it. And therefore, there is the profitability of a project as an asset. Capital infused, capital taken out because you made a profit on the sale of the asset. That's the first revenue stream. The second revenue stream is the service agreement that you sign with us for the services that are on offer at the community for the rest of the life of yourselves and of the community, which is then an operations revenue stream for the company where we provide all the services and at the end of the month you pay for the services that you've received. These services, like I explained to you, go from housekeeping to maintenance to entertainment to food and beverage and everything. The third revenue stream is the healthcare side of it, where as you become older and as your needs may grow, you may require greater assistance for activities of daily living, and those services are available to you from Colombia Pacific Communities for you to add on to your day-to-day requirements based on how your needs are changing. So those really are the three revenue streams. You know, it's funny, we speak about this, and like I said, I worked hospitality for 30 years and there are many places where you can get a very reasonable salary. But when I made this transition here and we took over those 9 communities, and from a place where they were not very happy places, today they are happy, vibrant, thriving places of social activity and connectedness. I feel so blessed to be in a job which allows me to earn my daily bread, but more than anything else gets me the blessings of so many seniors for the services that our team provide to them. And when you say that, you know, this is a business about genuine care, the fact of the matter is, to our 3,000 residents who are staying in our homes this evening, it does not matter to them whether Mohit Nirula exists or not, because the moments of truth are being delivered to them by our frontline team members at a time when nobody is watching what they're doing. And if they do what they are supposed to do with unconditional love, respect, and care, that's what brings us the blessings. That's what helps the company grow. I, in fact, told our investors when we were talking about the next 3-year plan, saying that what we need is capital, what we've already got is blessings.
Wonderful, wonderful. Capital and blessings. So, Mohit, you've already told me that you're well en route to your 13th, 14th, 15th community projects. And you've spoken of love, care, and respect. And these are pillars of happiness, frankly, in the senior years too. So Mohit, it's such a beautiful thing. It's about blessings and growth and capital at hand and opportunities in front of you. So as you look at the road ahead, sure, it's full of opportunities for you. And you said that about 95% or plus of those who live in your 3,000 homes across your communities, range from as young in age as 45 and as old as...
I must correct myself. We just celebrated the 100th birthday of one of our residents. So,
wow.
God bless. I mean, touch wood.
God
we've got all the entire range.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's really nice. And like you mentioned, Mohit, it's about getting on in your years without feeling you're getting old. So this longevity comes from the happiness and satisfaction from the services that the seniors receive at your communities. So tell me, how do you reach your twin target audience groups? I assume it's a twin group because the customers and the users is what we're talking about, where I believe the customers are the children and now guardians of their parents and elders who will influence their buy decisions into your communities, and the end users are the ones, the seniors, who will come live at Colombia Pacific communities. So how do you reach both these groups?
Yes, there are two target audiences. We've now been in the market reaching them to communicate that we are in the space and doing what we are doing. We approach our target customers from 2 points of view. One is what we call brand building, where we want them to know that there now exists through and with Colombia Pacific communities a lifestyle solution that they've been looking for but have not found. When I say to you that the demand outstrips supply by 12x, remember they're already out there. They are out there, are seeking the solution and have not found it. And therefore, what they need reassurance about is that we are indeed that which they are looking for. And what all our future residents are looking for is not an old age home. What they are looking for is a lifestyle which liberates them to be the best of themselves, where they don't have to worry about anything and we'll take care of everything else. The second target group are the children of these people who may be in India or overseas.
Right.
The decision on to buy or not to buy into a community of this nature is taken, in our experience, always jointly. However, what has changed pre and post pandemic is surprisingly what was an impediment before and is now a facilitator, which is the blessings of the children to their parents to take the step and move into a community of this nature. How to reach them? There is, of course, the standard thing of print and digital, and these days social media, WhatsApp, YouTube. There are multiple channels. Our residents or future residents are as digitally savvy as anybody else. I mean,
absolutely.
Today, WhatsApp, the biggest demographic using it is the senior citizen. There are more senior citizens on Facebook than there are millennials, because millennials have moved on to the next thing, but the senior citizens are still there. So they're very digitally savvy. So you can reach them through print and you can reach them through digital. But really, in terms of positioning yourself as the solution that they need, what we have realized is you need to truthfully tell them who you are and what you do. And if it is what they want, you don't need to sell, they will buy. And if what you are and what you do is not what they want, then you cannot sell no matter how hard you try.
Correct.
So our approach to selling and marketing is to transparently and honestly communicate the lifestyle that they can expect once they come into the community. It's for them to decide whether this is the lifestyle that they need. If it is, I can't stop them from buying. If it isn't, I can't force them to buy.
Absolutely. You're tuned to The Master's Voice, the podcast series on Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla, and with me is Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. We're taking a short break. Back soon. Don't go anywhere. And we are back. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. With me is Mohit Nirula, CEO, Colombia Pacific Communities. Mohit, now let's turn to the personal side. give us a peep into the human behind the professional that you are and the humans behind you, the professional. I mean, you worked with 2 organizations across 30 years. What have been your main learnings and who are the people you've been most inspired by and why?
I wish I could give you the name of one person. You see, all of us are products of our bosses. The people who've shaped us in our early years and later on. Nobody is ever the ultimate boss unless you're the promoter yourself. But even then, there's God Almighty.
Absolutely.
But we are products of the bosses, and I give credit to all the bosses that I've worked with in my 35 years. To some, I give them the credit for teaching me what to do. And there also have been some to whom I give the credit to teaching me what not to do. And I've kind of tried my best to learn from all of them. Some of them I would go back and work tomorrow. Some of them I would never go back to work with. But the fact of the matter is, they too taught me about what not to do with others.
Yeah, Mohit, in fact, when you speak about housekeeping, you speak about service, you speak about, the manner in which you reach out, you're punctilious about food. I mean, the whole works. It's like the whole 180, not 90 yards of service. And especially if you're from the Oberoi, my God, I think you come from the best place. So I'm sure you bring in a lot of great work and a lot of great inspiration and method. And I think you have to work from exactly the midpoint between head and heart in the kind of service and the kind of value that you provide to everybody who looks up to you. They are your wards. So amazing work. How do you feel about doing something like this? This is like really good, lot of good karma.
Like I said, there aren't very many jobs that give you a fantastic salary, but blessings on top of that, and have that opportunity is indeed very good. To your point about head and heart, I have worked all my life in hospitality and services, and I firmly and honestly believe that all of us come trained in hospitality by our parents. Good hotel companies ensure that you don't get overtrained and forget what should come from the heart, and not everything should come from a standard.
So well said, Mohit. Excellent. Very nice. And it bespeaks the motivation that drives you, I think, all the time.
That's correct. It is not something that you can do with manuals and procedures.
And what did COVID and it was the worst year, wasn't it, in living human memory for everybody? And how did you guys acquit yourselves with the care of, all your wards?
Listen, I have only the biggest gratitude for our frontline team members. You see, we can sit in our offices and work from home and make drawings on Zoom.
Correct.
The actual protection and ring fencing of seniors from the external environment was done by our frontline team members, and they did a fantastic job. They were supported by our residents because they have more experience and knowledge. But between them, I live in 2 cities in mixed family communities and have more cases of COVID in our communities than we have had in the communities that I live in myself than we've had and the credit for that goes to our frontline team members who did an absolutely fantastic job in protecting our seniors and our residents in the manner that they did.
Wonderful.
I can't appreciate them enough.
Wow, Mohit, thank you very much indeed for all the insights. It's been really good to speak with you on the latest episode of The Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com. Thank you very much. And what did you think of our chat so far, our little conversation? I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, for sure.
Yeah, Pavan, thank you so much for bringing out as much as you were able to from me. The credit for that goes to your ability to extract. And if I did speak for longer than I should have, the debit for that will also go to you for asking such good questions. But really, I never felt I was worthy of being on The Master's Voice. I've seen the people who've been on it before, and I'm privileged that I should be amongst the list. So thank you to you, Pavan, and to Mediabrief.com for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much indeed, Mohit, for giving us your time. And thank you also to AdFactors PR and Abha Kumari of AdFactors PR Bangalore for having facilitated this conversation. Mohit Nirula, CEO Colombia Pacific Communities, was my distinguished guest on this episode of The Master's Voice on Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pavan Chawla. And before I sign off, I must express the hope that you found this episode and Mohit's conversation with me as insightful and stimulating as I did myself. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in. Till we meet again in the next episode of The Master's Voice, I am your host and friend Pavan Chawla saying, stay safe. Bye-bye.